Looking for a way to get healthy? The Chef You and I program has the answer. Kathryn Raaker and chefs from around the nation will teach even the most inexperienced how to cook. Come into their kitchen and watch them take ordinary foods with loads of calories and fat and turn those foods into healthier dishes. You will be the first to get tips and ideas on foods that are easy to prepare. Now let's join Kathryn and today's chef and learn how to make today's recipes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kathryn Raaker of the Chef You and I, and today we have a wonderful show all about bread. Well, actually, I am half Polish and lots of other things, German and Austrian. And, you know, I've always loved Easter bread. And some people actually call it bacha. And our recipe today is so much like my grandmother Bohennek's. And my cousin Chris August and his wife Mary actually gave me the recipe that is so close to my grandmother's. It probably is the same. So actually, Mariana Bohennek was the mother of Mary Lou August, and Mary actually now does it for her children, and we're going to do it for you today. I did it for this Easter, but you can have this anytime during the year. And when I was really little, my grandmother used to make it every time we went up to Dayton, Ohio, and usually it was every weekend, and she would bake it and put it in. My grandfather was a jeweler, and he would put it in the safe. So this you cannot use your KitchenAid to actually knead it. You need to use your hands, the old-fashioned Polish way. So that's what we're doing today. So we're going to tell you what the ingredients are first. And you really need to do this exactly like this recipe to get the best results. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to put a pound of salted butter actually into your mixer. So that's what I'm going to do. And I kind of melted it a little bit because I wanted it to be soft enough. So there was a lot of soft butter there as well, but we want to make it easy for you. Okay, so you're going to cream your butter, or you can leave your butter out to get it soft, okay? But make sure it is. That's really important to this recipe. So we're gonna actually start it right now, and we got it down now. So what we're going to do is lock it, right? And we're going to cream the butter for a minute or two until it gets to be exactly the way we want it. Then we're going to add to that 1 cup of sugar, since it had already started creaming. Now it looks really, really good. You're going to add to that in a second, and that looks really nice. I want the, if we can get the cameraman to look at this. So it's nice and creamy now. So what we're going to do then is we're going to take our 12 egg yolks. And we want to get all those egg yolks in there, right? And just take this and make sure you get all that egg, because really this is an egg bread. You're not going to taste the yeast in it at all. You're going to take a tablespoon. Now see how nice that looks? Wow, that looks beautiful. We're going to add a heaping teaspoon of salt. All right. And then we're going to add vanilla to taste, and I love vanilla. So we're going to add that to it. We're just going to let that beat for a little while. And then we'll add some milk to that. And so I'm going to turn this off for a minute, and then I'm going to use my spatula and get that down in there, right? Because that's important to do. And then in a few minutes, we're going to add the milk. But in the meantime, I'm just going to let that rest for a minute, okay? I'm going to let that rest for a minute. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our yeast, and that's kind of lukewarm water, and we're going to add the yeast, 2 packages. I'm using Red Star because it's quick yeast. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to just mix it up a little bit. And the trick to this whole thing is, and you're going to love this, is to let that go for a minute, right? And we're going to take these away for a minute and just take that away. Hold on a second. We're back on the Chef You and I've made a well, and I want the camera guy to see the well that I made in the 5 pounds of flour. Okay? Because you need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour my yeast into the well. And we're going to pour that in there, right? And then what you want to do is you want to put a little bit of flour onto the top of it. Just a little bit. Like that. All right, while I wait for that to be done, then I'm going to wash my hands off real quick. And I'm going to pour my milk gradually into my mixer as I'm doing it, okay? So here we go. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. And you don't want your milk really, 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 really cold, okay? You want to keep it kind of, maybe just a little bit before room temperature. But this is a quart of milk. Remember, I have the vanilla in there. I have the 12 egg yolks, the salt, and you need to cream the butter first and then start adding your sugar, your cup of sugar. So now I'm going to add this a little. So we'll let that go for a minute because you want that to be really blended. Okay. That's important. Then I'm going to add a little bit more. And then we'll just kind of finish it off in a minute. Then we're going to fold our raisins into that. Now, some people don't like white raisins or golden raisins. That can be optional. Or if you have some people that want to have raisins, you can take, before you bake it, you can add that into a couple loaves if you want to, okay? But you want to have a preheated 350-degree oven. So it kind of looks like it's done. So we're going to turn it off. And it's going to look a little strange when you see it. Looks kind of lumpy almost. You can see the butter. You can see what it looks like. Don't freak out. That's the way it's supposed to look. Okay? And it's because of the butter and all the other things that you have in it. And we're going to take that out. And we're going to take that out. Put that in there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to add our raisins into the actual thing. And I'm going to use almost a whole package of this because all my family and friends love these white raisins or golden raisins. Okay, I'll save a little for something else. That's almost a whole package. Okay, maybe a little bit more because you can always get these. All right, so then I'm going to stir this together and get that all stirred in there, okay? So remember, that's a quart of milk. All right, so it looks pretty good here. You can see that. You can smell the yeast, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to add this to all that flour. And you need to use your hands to knead this. So I'm going to pour this in. Whoops, I didn't mean to do it that way. But sometimes you have these little things that happen when you pour things into the bowl that we're going to do it with, okay? So just a second, let me clean this mess up a little bit. You don't want to have a big mess. And now you're going to start. You can't use gloves. At least my beautiful family, the August family, told me you can't do this with your thing. You have to do it the old-fashioned way. So we're going to start kneading it, okay? And when it gets to a point where it starts coming off of your hands, then you know you need to really do this by hand. And what happens is you want to get all of this together. You want to get all that flour in there, right? And the reason why I'm using this baking pan is because you want something that is a roasting pan or a baking pan, right? That you can get all of this together and knead it. So when everything starts coming away from the actual, the actual sides of the pan, and this, it looks messy, but it gets to a point where you will be able to see how it comes together, right, like this. So we want to get all that flour in there because that's really important. And you want to just keep on kneading it until you get to a point where it comes off your fingers, right? And then you know it's ready, right? So we'll be back in a second or two once we're done kneading it, and we'll show you exactly what we need to do next, right? So that's what we're going to do. We'll be right back. I am done kneading the bread, and I'm going to push this down. You can see how great it is now. I'm going to push this down into the pan, and I'm going to actually let it rise till it doubles, which is about an hour and a half. And you know, some people, their bread gets done faster, whatever, but we've tested the bread. I made it the other day. And I got to tell you, it was so simple, thanks to my wonderful cousins, Chris and Mary August. They walked us through this whole beautiful process. I've been wanting to do this forever, and now I can hand it down to my children and their children. And that is just beautiful. So we're going to cover this with a couple of towels and put it in a warm place. And we preheat the oven to 350. You can put it on your oven. Some people have, you know, something that like a fire stove or whatever, they can put it on that or not too close to it. You don't want to burn the bread. You don't want to bake it. So we'll be back in a few minutes to do another bread by Mariana Bax of Circle B Ranch. We're going to do her 2 recipes for bread. We'll be back. We're back on the Chef You and I, and we're letting our wonderful Easter bread actually rise, or batcha. And while we're doing that, it takes a few hours to make the bread, actually. So we're making Mariana Bax blueberry oatmeal bread in the meantime. So we need 1 cup of blueberries, 2 cups of flour, and 1 tablespoon extra, 1 cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of Greek yogurt, 2 eggs, 1/2 cup of, or 1 stick of butter melted and cooled slightly, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1/2 cup of oats. And I need to get our butter out that we did, right? And it's right here. That's 1 stick of butter. We'll let that cool off for a minute. So the first thing that we're going to do is we preheated our oven to 375 degree, and we actually put parchment paper in our loaf pan right there. And we're going to use parchment paper because it's a lot easier to get out when it's done. So in a small bowl, what we're going to do is we're going to toss our blueberries, which is a cup of blueberries. So I'm going to put them in here. And then it says to actually 1 tablespoon of flour. So here's our tablespoon, and we're going to do a tablespoon of flour and do that. And we're going to add those to the strawberries so they don't stick. And make sure that you get off all of the little stems ahead of time. And I tend to do that because you don't want to be eating stems, right? So you just actually mix that around so you can see with the camera what that looks like so they don't stick together, okay? That's the one thing you want to do. Now, the other thing you want to do is in a large herb bowl, which is this one right here, we're going to actually take our 2 cups of flour, our sugar, baking powder, and salt, and we're going to put them together. So here's the 2 cups of flour, our baking powder, which I pre-measured, and also our salt. So that we have that in there as well. So it's 1 teaspoon. And some people use kosher. I'm not using kosher. I'm going to mix that together, right? So it all comes together, all right? Once you do that, then what you do is in a separate bowl, we're going to add our wet ingredients, which are actually the yogurt that we pre-measured, which is here. And we're going to put that in there. And that's Greek yogurt that I've used. I use non-fat sometimes. I use other ones, you know. So that's that. You want to get that in there. And you want to get it all out of there. Okay, we'll put that right here. And then what you want to do is add your wet ingredients. Would that be the melted butter? All right. We're going to add our eggs, but I'm going to mix them a little bit before I put them in. And your vanilla all together. So I'm mixing that all together. All right, I'm going to add that. All right, put that there. And then I'm going to add my vanilla to it. And that's actually 1 teaspoon of vanilla. We actually need to add our sugar into our dry ingredients, right? And also our oats. So those are all the dry ingredients, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to mix these together, right? And then you're going to add your wet ingredients to your dry ingredients, right? And you're just going to mix them, okay? We're going to add all of our wet ingredients, including our blueberries, right, into the dry ingredients. And then we're going to mix them well. So this is all the wet ingredients. You can see that. We went to a larger bowl to make it easier. And you don't use a mixer with this. You just combined all of the ingredients together. And then you're going to pour it into your loaf pan. Okay, so we want to combine all of these, as you see I'm doing. And then you're going to add your blueberries to it so that they don't stick, remember? And then you're going to mix it. And, right, you might want to add just a little bit of water to it, okay? And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to this to get it a little bit smoother, all right? And because there's a lot of flour in here. And you want to mix it until you can actually put it into your loaf pan, right? And so that's all your dry ingredients and your wet ingredients. And so it's not going to look like a cake mix. Just remember that. So you want to get that flour really incorporated into it, right? Just like you do when you're making regular bread, right? So, wow. This is a heavy bread. All right, we're almost there. All right. And if you want to put nuts in this, you could, but a lot of people are allergic to nuts, and you don't want to do that. We're back, and I really decided to grease my pan because I have some parchment that fits pans perfectly, and I just didn't happen to have it. And we're making a lot of bread today, so I decided to grease the pan. Okay, so there it is. I've done it. And I need to wipe my hands off for a minute, and then I'll put this into the pan. Here we go. We're going to use the spoon, and we're going to spoon it into this pan. So like I said, it's going to be like when you're making bread. And it'll go all the way to the top of this. But you want to push it down in there. And this is going to be delicious. It's like 15 minutes in this pan. Now I have a gas stove. Everybody's stove is different. You just want to check it to make sure when it's done, okay, that it comes out with a toothpick or whatever, clean, not sticking to anything. And you're going to love this bread. It's really good. And I want to thank Mariana Backs of Circle B Ranch for her wonderful recipe. And the next one we're going to do is a fast one too, and that is a peach bread. Okay, so smooth that over. And we're going to put that in the oven for about 45 to 50 minutes. Okay? And we'll be right back with our next recipe. We're back on the Chef You and I, and we're now making a peach cake by Mariana Backs. Now, I didn't have fresh peaches, so we're going to use wonderful, beautiful peaches that were canned. So that's what we're doing. So we're going to take the first thing, our ingredients are 1/4 pound of unsalted butter at room temperature, 1.5 cups of sugar divided, and 2 extra large eggs. So the first thing that we're doing is we preheated the oven, and now in our electric mixer, we're going to add our sugar, 1 cup of sugar, and the butter. So here's the butter. We're going to add that. Okay. And our sugar. And we're going to beat that 3 to 5 minutes on low. So we're going to do that right now. And you're going to use the paddle on that one. Okay. So we need to time that. So we need to time it So we need to time that for 3 to 5 minutes. And then what we're going to do after that is we're going to add our eggs and then our sour cream and vanilla and mix until the batter is smooth. So we're doing that right now. We're going to actually turn this up a little bit, but we're going to take a break until that's done, and we'll be back. We are back, and we're going to actually put our mixer on low, but I'm going to turn it off until I get all the ingredients in there. And it said take 1 egg. Let's see, 1 egg to start, right? And then you want to add your sour cream to it and your vanilla. So your vanilla you need a teaspoon of, and I always just do it like this because I kind of know what it is, right? Maybe a little bit more. I love vanilla. Okay, we're going to do that, and then we're going to add our sour cream. So we're going to turn this on for a minute, and it says low. And now I'm going to add my other egg to it, and then I'm going to add my sour cream. So I'm going to turn this off for a second because I don't want to make a mess out of it, so I'm going to do this. Right, like that. Get your sour cream in there. And I got it in there. So we're done with that. So we'll turn this on. And it says to do it, actually until the batter is smooth. So we'll turn it on low. There we go. And we'll just wait for a minute or two until that's done. And in the meantime, what we need to do is sift together the flour, baking soda, baking powder, and salt. And then you're going to add that slowly, those dry ingredients to the batter, and mix until it's done. All right, so in a separate bowl, I'm actually adding the flour that I sifted along with the baking soda and baking powder, right? So it's basically all of your dry ingredients. So it's the salt, the kosher salt, and the cinnamon, okay? So you want to just mix this all together. And then as soon as that's finished, we're going to, when this is finished, the wet ingredients, we're going to add the dry ingredients to it, okay? And then we're going to add the peaches. And so that you want to actually put the peaches, you put a little layer of your batter first, then you add your peaches, then you add more peaches after you put another layer of the batter, okay? And actually we're going to have another half a cup of sugar and pecans on top of that. So it's looking very good. I'm just going to turn this off for a minute, and I'm just going to use my spatula, and I'm going to actually bring that together, all right, until it's really smooth, okay? So we want to do that. And so turn that back on again. Is that on low? Yeah, that's on low. And it looks pretty good right now, so I think I'm going to add the dry ingredients to it, okay? So we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back. So now that the batter is done, we're going to turn it off, and we are going to lift it, okay, and actually get all of this nice batter off of here. That's what I love about this KitchenAid. It's so nice to work with. The attachments are great. And so we have almost all of it off there. And now we are going to actually take it off. I got it. Hold on. And I'm going to, my hands are clean. We want to get as much in there as possible. All right. Okay, so I'm going to take this over there, wash my hands a minute. We're going to do it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our bowl, and we're going to actually put a layer of the batter in, okay? And then you add the peaches to it, right? And we'll spread that batter. All right. Right, that's about half, maybe not quite. Okay. All right, and then we'll spread that onto the pan. And it's kind of sticky, actually. So we might need a little bit more, okay, in there. And then we're going to put the peaches on top of this. And then we'll layer more peaches. So you just keep layering it, you know. So there you go. All right, so we're going to add our peaches. My hands are clean, right? So we want to do that. This is going to be really pretty. So you just slice the peaches, right? There you go. And like I said, you want to grease your pan. That's cool. This is going to be so delicious. Then you can freeze this. That's the nice thing about any of the cakes or breads I make. You can freeze most of them. Okay, so now that we've got that on there, one more here. We're going to add more batter. And you want to do that. And then we'll add more peaches. Okay? So your hands get a little dirty. It's not a big deal. Okay? This is not like the normal, you know, like a batter. This is a thicker batter. All right. Let me finish that up and we'll be right back. I'm putting a half a cup of sugar on the top of the peaches. You can see it pretty closely what I'm doing here. And then I'm going to add my pecans, okay, to that, and which I've already done. Put that on the top of it, and then we'll put it in the oven for, I think it's about 45 to 55 minutes. So there you go. It's pretty simple. You're going to love this recipe. It's really good. And Marina Bax, thank you for letting us use your recipe on our show. We'll be right back after these messages, and we're going to, when we come back, we're going to punch down the bread so that we can let it rise, our first Pascha bread or babka bread or whatever you want, Polish bread. Okay, we'll be right back after we put this in the oven. We're back on the Chef You and I want you to see, I want the camera to see this. This is risen doubled. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat it down with my fist so that it actually makes the rising process even better. So I'm just going to do this, right? You want to do that and just get it all over the place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it back. We're going to put it back actually onto the warm place that we have it on and let it rise another time for about an hour to an hour and a half. We'll be back in just a moment because our other bread will be done. Thank you. We'll be right back. We're back on the Chef You and I, and we're making cinnamon roll bread. But in the meantime, our beautiful blueberry bread is now finished. We're letting it cool. So I want our cameraman to look at it really sweetly. And then we're going to talk about what I'm going to be putting in the cinnamon roll bread. We're going to put 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 tablespoon of baking powder, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a cup of granulated sugar, 1 egg, room temperature, lightly beaten, a cup of milk, and she used 1%. I'm just going to use regular milk. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1/3 cup of plain Greek yogurt or sour cream, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and 2 tablespoons of water. So the first thing that we're going to do, in a large bowl, you want to combine the flour, baking powder, salt, and sugar. So here's the sugar. Here's the actual, I've already pre-measured, and I put the baking powder into the flour. And what we're going to do is add that. We're going to add our sugar. And we're going to add our salt. And it is actually 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt, which I have these little tiny things right here. So I'm just going to put 1/2 a teaspoon in there. Okay. And then we're going to mix that together. Okay. So then what you want to do, once you get that, you want to add we need milk. So I need to get some milk out. And we need a cup of milk, right? So we're going to add that here. I'm going to add it into here, right? A cup of milk. And we have our wet ingredients, so right here. And I have my sour cream right there. Or not sour cream. I actually used yogurt. So we're going to put the milk away real quick. And so now what you want to do is you want to mix your wet ingredients. So you take another bowl and you actually combine the egg, milk, extract, and yogurt or sour cream. So I'm going to do that right here. The milk, the egg that I kind of beat up, right? Put that in there. And your actual, I use Greek yogurt. And that's 1/8 of a cup. So that's really not much. So you want to mix that together, right? And then we're going to actually add the dry ingredients to the wet, and we're going to combine with a large wooden spoon. So let me just get a spoon here. I happen to have one right here. And I am going to mix it this way. So I'm going to mix it in here because it's a better, bigger bowl, okay? So I'll put that right there. And then I'll bring it over here. and we'll mix it all together. But you want to get all that good cream out of there. That's good. I'm going to move that over, and then I'll use my wooden spoon and combine it all. So that's pretty easy, right? So this is a little wetter than the other one, right? And sorry. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually mix some more sugar, some more sugar once we do this, and we're going to swirl it into, once I put the batter into the baking dish, then I'll swirl it with the cinnamon and the sugar. So we're done with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to this right here. And I'm going to do part of it, and then I'm going to put some cinnamon there, and I'm going to swirl it. So hold on. So I have some cinnamon here. So we need actually, so I'm going to mix 2 teaspoons of cinnamon in with my sugar, which was 2 teaspoons. Okay, that's a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to mix this together. So what I'm going to do is actually gradually swirl it in. All right, I'm going to add a little bit. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to swirl this into this right here. So I'm going to mix it in like this. So it becomes cinnamon bread, as you can see. So you just swirl it. All right, that looks good. All right, that's cinnamon. Okay, so let's add the other part of it now. Right, add this to it. And then we'll mix that in together with it again. Hold on. All right, that's it. So, hold on. I'm going to put that in there. And then I'll add a little bit more of this. Just a little bit. Okay, and then just swirl it. All right, and then we're going to put that, believe it or not, we're going to put this in the oven. And my timer just went off, so I'll do that. All right, we'll be right back on the Chef You and I. We're back on the Chef You and I'm putting the actual risen bread into the pans. Each one of the pans I have, right? And wow, look at that. Now they'll rise again. Okay, there we go. And just make sure you got it really good in there. Okay, that's the first pan, right? Now here's the second one. Okay, sorry. Did you get it in there like that? A little bit more. Okay, and then just do the same thing. Pat them down, right? And then here's the third. Makes all this bread. So don't be surprised when this is happening, okay? Because that's the way it goes. So got that. Here's the fourth and the fifth pan. And make sure that you let it rise again one more time before you put it in to the oven, okay? And then it's going to bake for 45 minutes. And this is the end. So we're now going to put this again over on the stove, and we're going to let this rise one more time, and then we're going to bake it. So we'll be back in a little while after these rise, and we'll be back in just a little while. We're back on the Chef You and you know, this is the part that I love. You got to eat what we've made. This was a bread day. The first one that we did was the Easter bread here and here. And then we did the blueberry bread by Mariana Backs. And we also did her cinnamon bread. And we also did a peach, wonderful, beautiful peach bread or a peach cake. And I want to thank the Bohenic family for teaching me how to make the Easter bread. Chris and Mary August and their mother. We want to thank Maria Bax of Circle B Ranch for her wonderful recipes, her berry bread, her cinnamon bread, and her beautiful peach bread. I want to thank you again for joining us. Don't forget to go onto our website at thechefyouandi.com where you find all of our recipes. But we're all over syndicated television with Simul TV, with Spectrum, Comcast, AT&T, everyone. So thank you for joining me. Bon appetit. We'll see you soon. When I ended the show a little while ago, I decided that I wasn't really happy with the way the bread turned out. So I decided to start all over again. And this is what we ended up with. I'm so happy about it. They rose so beautifully. And I think they're going to taste even better. So if you don't succeed the first time, try again. It doesn't matter if it's in baking or cooking, you'll succeed. And thank you again for joining us. And get out there and bake, bake, bake. We'll see you next time on The Chef You and I. Go to our website at thechefyouandi.com for all of the recipes from today's show. And thank you, and we'll see you again. Bon appetit.
Thanks for joining us on The Chef You and I show today. We'll be back next week with another great and healthy recipe. Don't forget to visit our website, thechefyouandi.com, for all of our featured recipes, cooking tips, and clips of the show.